life's real. Like, you gotta get situated and find your path.
You can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, Australia was great. It was a good 1 year, one off, but I can't say that it helped me mature. If anything, I partied and got more immature. I just, like, did it up.
Yeah, but that's the lifestyle back then.
Back then it was, and honestly, they encouraged it as sous chefs and head chefs.
Yeah,
They wanted you to take more time off. They wanted you to go explore Australia. They knew you were a traveler. You're only there for a certain amount of time. So they were trying to make sure that not only were you getting your experience as a chef, but you were getting your experience as a person.
Yeah.
And I felt like that was something that you didn't get back in New York. So
Yeah, those are
cool.
the dopest restaurants.
Yeah. So learned a lot, took away a lot. I ended up staging at Momofuku out there. They
Okay.
opened up Momofuku Sawobo under this really intense chef. Some of the cooks had come from America, WD-50. There's this guy Irish from Ireland.
Yeah.
And they'd all been had ridiculous cooks. CJ Wells, Clayton, I don't know if you know him.
No.
Incredible chef. And they just all were killing it. And so I tried to get a kind of job for like my last couple weeks there because I really wanted to work for them instead of Bondi. But they kind of were just like, go back to the States and we'll get you a job with the company.
I heard.
So I went back to the States and I first did a couple trails in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
Went up to the L2O at the time.
Yeah.
Checked that place out.
Dynasty.
Checked out Alinea for a couple days.
Yeah.
Didn't like how many times they cleaned the kitchen. Didn't like the intensity of it all.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really feel like anyone was cooking anything. There was a lot of things in bags. It was kind of like the exact opposite of Australia. Australia was like all about how you cook things over fire and get the best sear on things.
Yeah.
And this was all about like finesse and precision. And maybe I could have used it at that time, but Chicago was cold and I was like, I don't know. When I came back to the city, someone said, like, Momofuku Sambar is, like, in the top 100 list. Not the top 50, but the top 100. I was like, that's pretty fucking cool for a restaurant that doesn't charge more than $30 for
exactly.
an entree. Like, just, like, super casual food.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, let's go fucking check this out. And I was just blown away by those cooks. They were so good. They were so fast. They were like, the head chef, Matt, had trained at the Fat Duck, like big trunk sous. I walked in there and I saw something that I had never seen. I felt like they were really cooking everything. There was nothing in bags. There was no stocks. It was just like lots of purees, lots of intensity.
Yeah.
It was really smart food. So immediately joined the Momofuku team over there.
Okay. Very cool. How long did you stay there?
I stayed there for a year. I definitely counted my days down. It was a good restaurant, a great restaurant with great chefs, but I really felt like even after the 6-month mark, like I had learned what I learned there, and the rest of it I just kind of, it came as a chore instead of like a passion and like an excitement to go into each day. So I didn't want to like let down my chefs and leave after 6 months. I felt like that was lots of sous chefs were talking about how too many cooks jump around from place to place after 6 months. So I felt like it was important to finish my year. And looking back, I'm really happy because it was one of my like full strongest years at one restaurant.
Okay.
So after that, I got this crazy offer to become a private chef
for
the summertime.
Oh, no way.
And, I went around trying to give my resume out to people to try to see if I could become a private chef. Loved cooking for my own family.
Yeah.
I loved it a lot more than the restaurants. Never got a thank you in a year of Momofuku Sambar. No one said thank you to me. But, like, you appreciate the thank yous when it comes from someone who's really appreciating what you're doing, all the hard work you're putting into the food. It meant more to me than I realized at that time. Like, a year before that, like, thank yous, who cares? But, like, at that point, once I started getting people thanking me for stuff, it felt differently cooking for people. I was excited about cooking people, creating new flavors, getting in there, like, being a real chef, not just some cook.
Yeah.
So I worked for, I'll be honest, a pretty terrible family. They treated me pretty poorly. Made me clean their boat all the time. They made me travel with them last minute. They made me change dinner plans all the time. They'd add guests all the time last minute. It was super difficult to manage.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got like I get it. Like, not everyone goes and does private chefing. It's not so easy. Like,
yeah.
Everything, every prep, you got to wash every arugula. You got to make sure there's no dirt on everything. Like, you got to prep everything from start to finish. So it's a real intense project to get meals on there every day. And as a young cook, I just didn't know enough technique, and I didn't have enough comfortability in my style. Like, I was legitimately opening up the French Laundry cookbook, and I was like picking 2 things, and I was like, those 2 things are going on today's menu, and that's what's going to make today's menu exciting.
Yeah.
But I had no idea what the fuck I was doing outside those 2 techniques. I was just hoping it was all coming together.
Yeah.
So I was kind of winging it. Eventually, I left them, and at the end of the summer, things didn't end well for me there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, fuck it, I'm going to go back to restaurants. And I got a really sick job over at 2 Michelin-starred Junsik.
Okay.
Really loved the kitchen there. JP was the chef, did Cuisine there.
Yeah.
Owns Attaboy, Attamix.
Yeah.
And he was one of, if not the calmest, most meticulous chef I've ever met.
Yeah.
There was no need for yelling. There was no need for urgency to a certain extent. It was more about proper technique. It wasn't about turning over customers. It was about making sure the plate was absolutely perfect before it went out. And I really loved that. It gave me a time to really focus for a couple months and make food beautiful without having to do 100 covers. Like, they just weren't the busiest restaurant in the world. They would do 34 covers. And so
damn,
we would have 12 chefs, 34 covers. I mean, I would hop off Garmager and I would go help fish and get over to Meat Station and just see what the rice station was doing and just get to see different techniques.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Like, I definitely would have stayed there a year if I could.
Okay.
After about 10 weeks or maybe 3 months, I reached for something in the kitchen awkwardly, and I had broken my shoulder when I was a young snowboarder.
Lad. Yeah.
And I guess I popped I moved or shifted one of the wires or bolts in my shoulder.
Yeah.
And it immediately caused a pain that, like, I could not raise my arm for the life of me. So, like, I couldn't work service.
Yeah.
JP took me one look at me and said, go home. And I ended up going back to the hospital for special surgery where I got the original shit all set up, and I got it all taken out. And JP was so generous. This is like almost 3-4 months later, and he's like, you still have a job here if you want it. And I still to this day find that incredibly grateful, because the whole time I was nervous about what was going to happen afterwards. And eventually he, even though I got the position back and wanted to go back, the same agent that set me up with the first kind of shitty family that I worked for, he was like, yo, I got you. Like, this is going to be a sick summer for private chefing. You get to work underneath another amazing private chef who's worked for Madonna and amazing stars, and he's working for the family for the last year, and you get to be his sous chef, breakfast, lunch kind of guy, and he'll do dinners, and you guys can collaborate on stuff. And I went for it. I was like, you know what, if this guy's being serious about the bad versus the good, let's see what a good family looks like. Let's see if this would even be a possibility for me. And that chef taught me so much. It's not just about, as a private chef, what your breakfast, lunch, and dinner is. It's really important to focus on where the clients are. Can you bring them watermelon by the poolside? Can you see where they are in their day and help them be more comfortable, have a better day? Like, are they going to notice whether you put a crumble on a dish or not? No. Will they like it more? Yes. So you should just do it. Like, your efforts all of a sudden trade into a direct relationship and direct feeling of the clients.
Right.
Like, when you put in extra effort, they notice and they appreciate it. And
100%.
that was incredibly rewarding versus whether I worked a 40-hour week or a 65-hour week at Momofuku, it never made a difference to anybody's week except for mine. So all of a sudden, my 40-hour week or my 65-hour week was making a big difference to these people's lives.
Okay.
They were, like, really appreciative. They noticed that I was improving. And so at the end of that summer, they passed me on to one of their good friends who I'd stayed with for about 5 years.
Okay.
And, this guy had an incredible wine cellar. I got really exposed. I got to drink, the best of the best wines. And that was...
Old world, too.
Old world. Like real Burgundies, 1942 Haut-Brions, and 1957s. Like, it's just like the rarest of the rarest bottles. They're just sitting in his basement. He pops open a bunch of them. He sips a little bit, and he lets you take home the bottle.
Yeah.
And, like, for me, that was enough benefit coming from a that plus the money. Like, I was like, forget it. Like, I'm ready to do this full-time position. So, I did the tasting for them. They brought me into the cellar halfway through the meal. Blew my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, this is where I want to be. I'll get to cook my food, be creative. And the first year was rough. I would be lying if I didn't... it was hard to adjust coming from restaurants to be a full-time private chef. It was a different program, different expectations. You have different conversations with your boss. It's not like you're talking... Your boss isn't your chef. Your boss is your employer. And that your employer has a different view on things and different life experiences, and he looks at you differently.
Exactly.
So it was really interesting and exciting to learn that side. I cooked for some amazing stars, politicians, incredible people, celebrities that are far more human in person than I'd ever realized.
Yeah.
Like, just super down-to-earth people. And I really enjoyed it. The money was great, and it's a big reason why I did it. But the benefits of the 6 weeks paid vacation and the wines and all the additional... Like, he paid for me... my 4th year, I asked him if I could go to Copenhagen.
Yeah.
And he paid for Copenhagen. He paid for my
dope.
meal to eat at Noma. He paid for my meal to Geranium. Like, he paid for 80% of this trip, 90% of this trip.
That's crazy.
And I would have never done it without his help.
Yeah.
In the 5th year, I saw the opportunity. He had come to my wedding. I had grown close to him. And I thought that this was my opportunity to try to bring a business idea to him.
Understood.
And so I tried to open up a Japanese shaved kakigori ice shop in New York City, and he helped me get a little bit of funding. He helped me organize where those funds would be allocated.
Yeah.
He helped protect me a little bit. But at the end of the day, for someone with him, his risk always has reward, or a lot of the time has reward. And when we looked at the numbers at the end of the day, he didn't see the reward, even though he definitely loved who I was and was trying to be supportive of what I was doing. He just didn't think it was the right idea to drop some money into. So it was hurtful at the time to hear that, but I had staggered a little bit, did a couple kakigori pop-ups to try to get people excited. Tried to scout out a couple locations, get some lawyers involved.
Really?
And I spent some big money trying to get this thing together. And then I was lined up for we got the contract written. And it was sent. First copy was sent to my lawyer. And that was March 16th, 2020.
Oh.
So 3 days later, like, the city shut down. I was super grateful I didn't sign the lease. But this whole kakigori idea was dead in the water.
Yeah.
So private chefing, once again, was my lead future idea.
Yeah.
There was no other future at that point, no other ideas. So, I went back to the boss, kind of told him that this isn't the right time to do a business. And he was like, great, like, we'll keep you as our private chef for a little bit longer, and we'll figure this all out. A couple months later, he kind of felt like it was just unnecessary to keep me on payroll when he wasn't having me come in.
Okay.
Which I feel like was super honest.
Yeah, it's
super
understandable.
Mutual and super, it was understandable. Like, dude, you're not coming in